KNEC.com, the loudest.com on the planet. I have the pleasure of speaking with Johanna Sadonis and Nicke Andersson of the band Lucifer. How are you doing today?
Hi, the pleasure is ours. We're doing well.
Very
Yeah.
good. How's the weather in Sweden?
It's spring finally. It's about 12 Celsius. That probably doesn't mean anything to you, but it's not freezing cold anymore. So spring has just begun. Winter is really long here.
Ah, very good. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm really honored to speak to you guys. I gotta tell you, having experienced Lucifer III was a great experience, and I want to thank you for just putting out such a great album.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very nice.
Yeah, it must be a little bit frustrating for you to not be able to tour on this album with like the whole situation going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we were supposed to do a lot of shows this May. But yeah, well, it is what it is. We're writing songs instead. So Lucifer 4 will be out before you know it.
Very, very good, very good. Now, for people that don't know who Lucifer is, give us a little bit of backstory on how Lucifer came to be.
Well, it started about 5 years ago in Berlin. I founded Lucifer after the breakup of my previous band, Theo. And first, the lineup consisted of me, Gaz Jennings, who used to be the guitar player in Cathedral. Him and I, we wrote the first album together. There were members of a variety of British and German bands at first. Meanwhile, I'm living in Sweden, and the whole lineup is Swedish. So there has been quite a bit of a change within Lucifer. Nicke, or drummer, my husband, and I, we wrote the second and the third album together. And we recorded both albums here in Sweden at Nicke's studio, Honk Palace.
Very good. So you had a really hands-on approach to everything. It was all underneath your umbrella, and you guys were able to control everything.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
How did you approach the songwriting process from the first album to Lucifer 2, now to Lucifer 3? Like, how were the changes with the members and everything, and your outlook on what you wanted to achieve with these albums?
Well, first of all, the good thing is that Lucifer 2 and 3 were written in a similar fashion to Lucifer 1. So it's always been between two people, and I've always been a constant part of that. So in that way, there has always been a concept, like a vision that I had about the band. The great thing with having Nicke since the second album is that a lot of these ideas overlap, and we have very similar tastes in music and visually and anything related to, how you run a band, how you want stuff to look and how you want it to sound. We have very similar taste sonically, and so it's very easy to make this whole thing up. And yes, like you said, it's all in our own hands. It's very DIY, and I love that. Maybe because I'm a little bit of a control freak as well, but it's also, you kind of know you're like close to the bass, so you know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, very good, very good. Good DIY approach is very good, and nothing wrong with being a control freak. I mean, you know exactly how you want the record to sound, and like I said, the sound overall, the quality, not just the songwriting, but the sound of it just sounds amazing too. And I read somewhere that when you first started out, you were doing the whole analog old school thing. Did you still continue to do that with Lucifer 3?
Well, the only thing that's not analog in the studio is the tape machine, which I don't have. So I am using a computer instead of a tape machine. The rest is analog. So it's both, I guess. It's cheaper to use the computer. I mean, if I had money and time, I would use the tape machine. But it takes a lot of extra hours, and you have to learn a lot.
Right.
Since you don't have an assistant engineer or a tape op, as it's called. So, but it works for us.
Yeah. And we do have a little bit of time now. I mean, I know you said you guys are continuously writing now and looking to make album number 4, and I assume you'll call it Lucifer 4 now.
We leave that open.
You know, leave it open to interpretation. And what I wanted to ask you is, a lot of the lyrics in your music seems to have like a double meaning, or it's like open for interpretation. Was that something that you expected to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do that because I think when the story is too blunt and too direct, it doesn't leave enough room for the listener to make up their own kind of word in their head and associations and so on. I kind of like when I know what the songs, what the lyrics mean to me or what they don't mean to me or whatever. But I think it's great, me as a listener and as a fan of music, when I hear something and I can somehow apply that to my own self, I can make up my own story of what I see when I hear that, or what I feel when I hear that. So if I can achieve that for other people when they listen to that music, that it's not so, I think it should be a little bit hidden, and it should be a little bit shrouded, because mystique in music is also very important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of personal stuff in the lyrics, but it's also a lot of stuff that I'm just drawn to, There's like a lot of horror themes on the third album, more so than on the second album, for example. So it's kind of a collage of, stuff that happens to one in life for real, and stuff that one maybe would like to happen, or, just things that go through your head.
Yeah, there's like a lot of romantic themes. It kind of feels, or at least my the way I kind of absorbed it was like some romantic themes, and especially definitely like I guess people would say occult themes, right? Was that something that you were always into, or like how did you feel incorporating that into your lyrics?
Yeah, that started when I was a teenager, when I got into metal in the early 90s. And that's when I started, crawling around on cemeteries and kind of, you said romantic. And yes, I am an old romantic, and I find old cemeteries romantic, and that kind of stuff has kind of always been with me throughout my life. And with Nicke too. I mean, Nicke also, already as a young kid got into metal and
Satan.
Yes.
And Nick, I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of Entombed, and when I found out that you were in this band, I was like, oh my god, like this combination just got better and better, and it definitely seems like you brought some of that Swedish, like the guitar tone is just so crunchy, and I've always loved that since like I first heard your albums back in the day. And I gotta say, like again, I know I keep complimenting, but I can't help it because like just the sound and overall, it's the perfect album, and again,
Wow.
really great job, you guys. And
You're way too nice.
Well, thank you.
yeah,
I appreciate that.
Let's dive into a little bit more on Lucifer 3. Like you have song titles like Ghosts, Midnight Phantom, Leather Demon, those two that you did videos for, and the videos are really really beautiful. And tell us a little bit about like some of these songs, like a little background on, let's say, Ghosts. What's that song about?
That song is about death. One of the many Lucifer songs about death, always with different approaches on the topic. Ghosts is kind of are the ghosts that one lives with. People who you were close to in one way or another that have passed on, and those people still being on your mind, and you always have like reminders. Something that somebody gave to you, or might be like a tin box you put your cigarettes in that somebody gave to you that has passed on. So I'm living with my ghosts, from my life. And that song actually makes me pretty sad every time we've played it. Because that one we've played, that was the first song we wrote of the new album, and we've played that throughout the last year on tour.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a little bit also that it's hard to wrap your head around that. Of course, somebody's dead and they won't come back. But like a child who you have to explain death to, it's very hard to grasp. And sometimes you can find an old phone book and you see the number of somebody, like an old friend who's dead, that happened to me. And it's like, kind of like, why can't I call this number anymore? Sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around it. And it's such a sad thing.
Oh, yeah, I truly understand. And if I can just add a little bit of personal touch, about a year ago, coming up on the anniversary, actually, I lost the guitarist in my band,
Oh.
and yeah, I definitely, and especially, I mean, beyond that, like I've had so many family and friends pass away in the last few years, and it just seems to be like kind of a world epidemic. I'm sorry I used that word, but yeah, death is really, I don't know if it's as we age, but just death seems to really follow us along.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for your guitar player and for the people you've lost. Yeah, it feels like, of course, the older one gets, the more death you will experience, and that I find really scary.
Hmm.
I mean, by the time one turns to be, I don't know, 70, 80, if one does, then you see your friends around you dying, and then everybody in the music world that you once listened to will be dead. You know what I mean? It is a scary outlook, but at the same time, I guess that's life, and life goes on, and it's been the same for anyone who lived on this planet. But it's hard to come to terms with it.
Oh, definitely is, and just we we carry them on in some way or another in our hearts, I think,
Yeah.
and especially when you write songs, such great songs. I mean, I think they kind of look down on you, not in a bad way, but I mean they look upon you and say like, oh, that's beautiful, and I think they feel it. I think they definitely feel it. So
Yeah,
let's
I hope so.
and let's talk some more about the album. Let's how about Leather Demon? Is that like also about death, or like, that's kind of the interpretation I got. What about Leather Demon?
Um, well, that's a little bit more tongue in cheek. The leather demon could be me hanging out like I did back in the day as a teenager on cemeteries, smoking cigarettes, listening to
Hmm.
my Walkman, um, in a leather jacket. That is just like a little bit of uh, that's the good old romantic in me, kind of.
And now how about your namesake, the track of the same name, Lucifer? What about that song?
Yeah, I think that was just waiting to happen. I mean, we've now the third album in. We thought it's about time to have a song about Lucifer, and it's such a classic thing to do. Like all the bands that we love, a lot of them have their namesake as a song. So it's been on the to-do list.
I understand that the album is doing quite well in Germany and in Sweden.
It has been. I mean, we will see in the end.
Hmm.
It has done better than we thought it would under the circumstances of being released in the middle of shit hitting the fan with the corona crisis.
Yeah. But I think a
Yeah.
lot of people now have time to sit down and listen to albums, and whether it's new or old, and I'm definitely hope that people are checking out Lucifer because it's definitely going to be a good album to like help you get through the time.
Well, it does seem like people have had time. I mean, if there's one positive thing coming out of this, it does seem like people actually listen to it. Not saying they didn't listen to the last one, but it feels like, I mean, this lockdown thing, it's not only bad. You have time to reflect
Hmm.
and listen to music. So it just sucks that we can't play the songs, but we will eventually.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's you have all this fuel that you guys are pumped for the new album, and it comes out, and then you just like, wait, hold on, everybody stay put. Things are a little weird. Don't everybody get sick. So I hope you all taking precautions and be how is the situation there? Like I know in America it's a little crazy to say the least, but how's things in your hometown?
Well, we live kind of outside of Stockholm, in more or less countryside,
Mm-hmm.
and for us it's not a major difference because it looks the same here. It's us and the water and the forest. So and we have the studio here, so we're actually good to be alone.
Yeah, it's not like some punishment, to be quarantined.
There are parts of it that's actually nice that we can. Okay, it sucks not to tour, but that also means we can work on music and the garden.
But the thing in Sweden, Sweden is not hit as hard. I mean, we have a lot of infected here, and we have, of course, the deaths as well. But Sweden is such a small country, or there's so few people living here, and Sweden is kind of surrounded by water, so it's not been hit as hard, and that's why the Swedish government has been a little bit more loose about the restrictions. Right. So people still go to restaurants. There's no bars, there's no shows, but people go eat at restaurants, and we've been opting to stay home. So because I read the news every day. We know what's going on, so we just want to stay away from it.
Yeah, it does sound like quite a rewarding experience being in the countryside, and I'm sure the weather's beautiful out there right now. So Nick, give me a little story. How did you and Johanna meet? Like, what was it that gravitated you two to each other, and eventually became this new Page and Lucifer?
Well, we did gravitate towards each other.
We got drunk under a cup too.
Yeah, which I don't remember. No, we had met a couple of times in Berlin throughout the years
as acquaintances.
Yeah, but then when we got romantically involved. That happened kind of quick when it did happen, and that was also around the same time that Gas, who wrote the first album together with Johanna, he left, and then I said we could try it, and that's what we. I mean, this is cutting a half-long story very short, so
yeah.
And. No, but then we started sending material back and forth to each other and started working. And by the time, I don't know, some months after we started seeing each other, we had quite a bit of the second Lucifer album ready. And we just continued from there. And it worked really good. None of us knew if it was going to work, but you never know unless you try. And it worked out really nice.
Very, very true, yeah. And my understanding correctly that you guys recently, or at least back in September, you celebrated your 3-year anniversary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully everybody just goes and sees more shows once things start opening up,
I hope so too. We can't wait to play the new stuff, because when you have only 2 albums under your belt and you have that, you try to change up your set list, there's only so much changing up you can do. So we were really eager to play the new stuff. So it will be great, and I can't wait to come back to the States. I think that is on for next year sometime, hopefully, if we get our visas.
How many of the new songs were you playing when you guys, before all this happened?
Well, we've played Ghosts throughout the last year, and we played this year in January when we did our last tour before the crisis. We went to the southern states of the US and we played Lucifer as well.
Yeah, I did see some video, I think, of some recent concerts, and it seems you have a lot of energy in your stage show too, and you're not just like a band that just stands there and goes through the motions, and I think really important to have a really good stage show.
Yeah, we're not big fans of shoegazing, I guess. But
well, we really love to play live,
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Lucifer is a pretty energetic live band.
The influences that you hear in your music, I mean, the list of names, it's like endless because so many of the great bands from like the 60s and 70s, and you modernized it, and it sounds so amazing. Did that come from your time when you were working at the record store?
I think that comes from just my whole life, because I started to get into music as a kid already because of my mom, who was a rock and roller. She was really into the Stones, and there was also ZZ Top and AC/DC and Deep Purple and stuff like that at home, and Patti Smith and I don't know, Velvet Underground and so on. So I grew up with music, and my brother was a punk. And then I just went through different phases, as a teenager I got into heavy metal, and then I went like into black and death metal and doom and stuff. And then later on I started appreciating my parents' record collection. And now all these records are standing in our shelf amongst all our stuff. So, but there's a lot of influences to draw from.
Oh, totally, totally. Well, what was your first concert as a kid?
Guns N' Roses in '92. I was 13. Cool. That's what I went to, where I actually had my own ticket. My parents once took me to a motorcycle jamboree, and Motorhead played, but unfortunately I don't remember that. I was like 11 or something. Oh, but yeah, I went to see Guns N' Roses in '92 and Metallica in '92. So, and then Danzig was my third show. And that was also the band that kind of is responsible for me getting into like upside down crosses, flirting with the devil.
I think something about, not just metal in general, but then you take it to like a little bit of a dark side, like the romanticism and the whole devil, as you say, when it comes to death, like people just really gravitate towards that. And I think this album is really going to gravitate a lot of people. And
thank you. But it has to be a cool death and a cool devil. It can't be like gothy or kitsch, That's like...
No, it has to be fun. No. The devil means fun.
I'm of the belief that, it's not any of the negative that people try to paint it as. It's something about like free spirit, and I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe in very few little words with a little time, but again, I want to let people know that we're here talking with Lucifer. We're here with Johanna Sadonis. I hope I'm saying that right. And Nicke Andersson, drummer and husband and wife power couple here, who made an amazing album, Lucifer III, that came out in March, if I'm not mistaken. And came out through Century Media. And how's Century Media treating you with all this?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think... Do you mean at this weird times we have, or in general?
Well, both. Like since your second album with them, and now with everything going on.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to tell, with this, because everything's so different now. But I think, no, I mean, it seems good to me.
Yeah.
It just sucks that, again, both for them and for us, that we can't tour the album, of course. But no, I think it's good.
But yes, we are very happy to be on Century Media, because they do give us a lot of freedom. We can do kind of what we want. I mean, for the second album, when they signed us, they didn't even want to hear songs before. They signed us because they trusted that this will be good, and they were happy with it. And so... because we take on the whole art direction, and they let us do our own ads because we like stuff to look very classic, kind of 70s, and they give us a lot of freedom, which is awesome.
Yeah, like you're like a whole package deal. Like I'm looking at the album cover right now, and it's beautifully done. All your promo shots that I see of you guys have a common theme, and it's great. It seems like you put a lot of thought into what you're doing, and I think bands nowadays need to be more aware of that. They have like no common look, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things that people don't understand. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the way I feel. If I see a great album cover, the curiosity is going to strike me to want to hear it. And the same thing with the band photo, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree.
No, totally. I mean, I think it's as simple as if you want to buy a book, like just a novel, and there happen to be two versions at the bookstore, aren't you gonna, and they cost the same, aren't you gonna get the one with the better looking cover? Even you know that you're gonna read the words, but still.
Well, not everybody's like that. But...
Yeah, not everyone, but I think a lot of people would think like that without thinking. I would.
A simple example is like if you're a kid at the record store and you see the Number of the Beast right there with this amazing artwork of Eddie, aren't you going to gravitate towards that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I mean, I know it's a different era altogether, but then you see Metallica's Black Album and it's just black and it's like, okay.
I was just thinking about that because when I had money to buy an album, I had enough money to buy one album. So I went for Master of Puppets because I loved that cemetery with the crosses so much, you know. Yeah. Because I had to decide, and for me it was in between Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. And that's why my first love, considering Metallica, was always Master of Puppets, even though maybe that's not the cool thing to say, but it's because of...
It's really cool. That's a great album.
Better than Justice for All.
Yeah. You know, Long Live Cliff, like, you know, amazing bassist, and you know, I'm definitely a big fan of that album, and that would be a popular opinion, I'm sure. How about you, Nick? What was one of your first albums that you bought?
The first album I bought, I don't remember which one, but I got into Kiss when I was about 7 years old. So, but that was from seeing a picture, so I didn't actually hear them. Oh. So it took a little while, probably not long, because when you're a kid, you know, a day seems to be like a month. But my mom gave me Rock and Roll Over out of the blue one day. Oh. And then after that, I bought every Kiss album. So by the time I was 8, I think I had them all.
Nice. So a big Kiss fan, are you?
Yeah, that's what got me into music, and I still like it, even though I can also appreciate the silliness sometimes. But I also I like silly in music.
And to my understanding, you guys were covering a Paul Stanley song, right, live?
Yeah, we used to now. I'm not sure if we're gonna do that anymore, because we've had fun with it now, and it's time to move on to something else. But we did that Kiss cruise, and we thought, wouldn't it be great to do at least one Kiss song? And we thought, let's do a song from Paul Stanley's solo album.
We actually recorded it because on the Japanese version of the new album, Lucifer III, it is as a bonus track, because Japan always wants a little bit of an extra, so you always have to add these bonus things. With Lucifer, it's been only covers so far as bonus tracks for all the 3 albums. And it was the Take Me Away, because I thought, or we thought, you know, let's record this before we stop playing it while we are so warm with it, you know. And I uploaded this on YouTube like a week or 2 ago, so now everybody can listen to it.
On the Kiss subject, you guys also had Philip Schaus, am I saying that right? Who played bass with Ace Frehley on tour with you guys?
Yeah, we did meet him at that same cruise. We became friends, and then our bass player Alex had just left last fall, and we were ready to go do this American tour in the South, and we realized we can't bring any guy from Sweden, because that would mean there's no time to get a visa. So we said, let's get someone from the States. And Johanna thought, let's ask Phil. And he was up for it. And that was great.
It was actually hilarious, because Phil is from Nashville, and I've never written to him before. I've met him only that one time on the Kiss cruise. So I wrote to him on Instagram, because we were following each other. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'm up for it. I'm in Stockholm, by the way. And then he happened to be, because we went to a show that evening, he happened to be at a show next door. I mean, the world is a small place sometimes, you know, when you think somebody's like halfway across the globe, you know, in Nashville, and they happen to be just next door. So it was meant to be that Phil played with us.
Wow, what a coincidence. That's pretty cool. Joanna, did I read right that you used to live in Los Angeles as well?
Yes, I did for 3 years.
3 years. Wow. What was your perception of Los Angeles? Like, I don't know what era that was, but like, how did you see the music scene here?
Are you in Los Angeles?
I'm in Los Angeles. Yes,
Oh,
it's 10 a.m. here in the morning. So good morning.
the 9 hour difference.
Yeah.
Well, I lived first. I lived in close to Eagle Rock.
Yes,
I
I know where
forget
that's at.
what that's called. Then I lived in Silver Lake, and then in Echo Park. I moved around a little bit. I loved living in LA, and I also hated it. So I have very mixed feelings about LA. I did love the ocean and the free spirited people. But I missed the four seasons of Europe, and I also felt a little bit lost. I don't know how to describe it. I felt a little bit lonely. I mean, I have a lot of friends in LA, and my life was fulfilled. I worked a lot, and I was going out a lot, and was going out to a lot of shows and stuff. So I had a full life, but for some reason, my soul felt a bit. I just needed to move back to Europe.
Sure.
But I think LA is probably more fun when you have a lot of money, and I didn't.
Ooh,
So.
yeah.
I was just like, I was working my ass off to make ends meet, and it was a great experience. I do still consider LA kind of a second home, when you spend that amount of time in a city. And my son lives in Los Angeles, so I have a son who's already a grown man.
I definitely understand the struggle here. Believe me, I definitely understand. Again, we're here with Lucifer, talking about Lucifer 3 and all things Lucifer, honestly, and with Nicke Andersson, Johanna Sadonis, drummer and vocalist. And I really want to thank you for your time. You guys put out an amazing record, and I can't wait for you guys to get back on tour. And I can't wait for you to hear the new album, especially. And is there any word of advice that you want to give people during this time of quarantine or self isolation?
Well, we hear that people still don't wash their hands properly, so that could be one thing. But
And the other thing I would say is, because a lot of people say, well, make the most of your time off, that you are in isolation. I mean, we do work a lot more on music now, but don't feel pressure to do it. Sometimes maybe, it's good to just recharge your batteries and put your soul at ease.
yeah.
They should, because it seems like a lot of people feel pressure. They have to learn another language while they're sitting at home. Something like that.
I'll be honest, that was one of the things on my mind. But I mean, I'm trying to learn Dutch, or not trying, but I mean, I want to learn Dutch. I want to learn German. I want to learn Russian. But I'm like, I'm trying to write my own music too. So it's just like so scatterbrained. It's hard to focus sometimes. And
Yes.
Yeah, maybe pick one language, not four.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And any last thoughts on the album, on Lucifer 3, that you wanted to share with anybody?
Well, there's a few hidden Easter eggs. Happy hunting.
Hunting,
On the cover and in the music. But I just want to thank you for all the kind words. It's been really nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Likewise, likewise. It's an honor to talk to you both. I'm a fan of both Intuned and especially Lucifer now. I'm so glad I found you guys, and I wish you all the best. You guys are lucky and fortunate, and I'm happy for you that you two get to spend this self isolation quarantine time with each other. Make some beautiful music together that I'm sure everybody is going to appreciate. So, with that said, I want to thank Johanna and Nick from Lucifer. Again, this is Francisco with knec.com. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at metalxcandy. Be well, stay safe, and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
You stay safe too, and I hope we come to LA next year. Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care, man.